Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Gurur Devo Maheshwaraha, Gurureva Param Brahma, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Chinmayam Vyapyat Sarvam Trailokyam Sacharacharam Tatpadam Darshitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Tvameva Mata cha Pita Tvameva Tvameva Bandhu cha Sakha Tvameva Tvameva Vidyat Ravidam Tvameva Tvameva Sarvam Mama Deva Deva Tvameva Sarvam Mama Deva Deva. Jai Guru. Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahana Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhikamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. So Puneet, will you chant this evening? Sure. Do you need a copy of the book?
I have it.
And I think we're on shloka 27 or 28.
28.
28. Will you help us out, please?
Atmabodha Verses Uddhayadi Driyendriyapti Deepo Ghatadivat Swatma Jadaitairna Vabhasyate. So just as a lamp illumines a jar or a pot, so also the Atman illumines the mind, the sense organs, and so on. These material objects cannot illumine themselves by themselves because they are inert.
So just as we have objects in the world that are jada, that are inert, they are non-luminous. And in order to see them, I need a lamp. They light. So also the body, the prana, the feelings, the thoughts, the objective world of objects, subjective world of emotions and thoughts, they are not self-luminous. They do not know themselves. One feeling doesn't know another feeling. One thought doesn't know another thought. Something there is that is the constant knower of everything. What is it? Who is it? Me, myself. Even though it knows all the objects, which are constantly changing. One of the words we have for the phenomenal creation is Jagat, Jagat. And it goes Jagat. It's always changing. But the knower of the phenomena never changes. Now, here's a very important point. Many of us think my mind has consciousness, that I possess consciousness the way I possess a hand or a nose or or a feeling or a thought. If consciousness were something that belonged to me as a possession, then what sees consciousness? Another consciousness? Well, then what knows that one? Another one? So the philosophical term is a regressus ad infinitum. You do not own or possess consciousness. You are consciousness. And let's review what Swamiji used to call his spiritual algebra. Mind, M, equals A, awareness, or we could say C, consciousness, plus thought flow. We can say instead of thought flow, we can say perception. We can say emotion. We'll call it vritti, which means something that's happened in my mind, or vimarsha, that's even a better one, some sort of deliberativeness. So in algebra, if I take the thought flow and I move it to the other side of the equation, I've got to make it negative. So mind minus thought flow or any of the phenomenal objects equals pure awareness. That's my essential nature. So the practice that's implied here in meditation, we do our best to remove our attention from anything that's knowable, any phenomenal objects, any feelings, any thoughts, any images. Faz, will you flip that light switch off there, which will turn the fan off? So meditation is not a place to problem solve. It's not a place to get messages. It's not a place to see visions. That's another practice if you want it. Meditation in our tradition is find out who you are. You are that prakasha. You are that light. Pure awareness by which everything is known, without which nothing can be known. But itself can never be known as an object. You will never be in meditation and go, oh, there's the self going by. No. If you can see it as an object, that isn't it. Yet it is not unknown. You are you. How do you know you are you? You do not see, hear, taste, touch, smell, emote, or think yourself. But you do not doubt that you are. Well, it's because of my body. Well, is it? Do you not know the body? Take a deep breath. Feel the breath of the body. Do you not know the sensations of the body? The body, like everything else in the world, is an object of awareness. Who are you? Any thoughts on this? Next verse.
Swabodhe nanya bodhe cha bodha rupa tayatmanah nadi pasyat Nyadipecha yatha swatma prakashane. A lighted lamp does not need another lamp to illumine its light. So too, Atman, which is knowledge itself, needs no other knowledge to know itself.
Yes, it is Swayam Jyoti, self-luminous. So I light a candle there on the table. The room is dark. We see the flame. Do I need to get a flashlight to illumine the flame on the candle? No. The light of the candle itself has luminosity. So, what is the instrument for knowing the self? So, in the world, we have what's called the triputi, the triple factor. Knower, knowing, know. I, the knower, through seeing, know the table object. Knower, knowing, and know. I, the knower, through hearing, know the sounds of the traffic. Knower, knowing, and know. I, through the sense of smell, know the fragrance of the incense. Knower, knowing, and know. Go through all the 5 outer senses that way. I, through manas, mind, know feelings. Knower, knowing, know. I, through buddhi, intellect, know thoughts. Knower, knowing, know. Do you exist? Who knows it? I do. What is the means of knowledge, the knowing? I don't know. You do not see, hear, taste, touch, smell, emote, or think yourself. Yet you are known. The self is its own means of knowledge, its own instrument of knowing. Even though it is not known as an object, it's absolutely known, but not as an object. So we say it is Swayambhu, self-evident. Swayam Jyoti, self-luminous, self-effulgent. Now listen very carefully. The great cosmic joke is everybody already has that. I can go out on the sidewalk, talk to some homeless person sleeping in the bus stop. How are you doing today? Oh, really terrible. You wouldn't happen to have some spare change, would you? Maybe. Do you exist, by the way? What a stupid question. Of course I exist. What's your existence? Misery. Do you know you are miserable? Yeah. So he thunders, I am, I know. But he's superimposing the qualities of the not self onto the self. So there's another kind of knowledge that we talk about here. This is the awakening in the subtle intellect. When the buddhi, the subtle intellect, becomes buddha, awake. So what is it that happens? The intellect does not know the self, but the intellect can reflect on that constant, eternal experience of I-ing. Let me see if I can show you this distinction. So take your mind's eye, your attentive faculty, and draw it to the sensation of the waistband of your trousers or skirt, whatever you're wearing tonight. Can you feel that sensation? Mm-hmm. Is it too tight, too loose, just about right? What?
That's right.
Okay. So there are two things going on here. There's a direct experience of your skin against the waistband of your trousers. Actually, you've probably been experiencing that since you put your pants on this morning. But then what did we do? We invited the subtle intellect to think about, to examine that direct experience. Is it too tight? Is it too loose? Is it just right? It was not the instrument for experiencing the sensation of your waistband. No, that's your skin. Another example, rub your hands together. When you rub your hands together, was it motion or was it stasis? It was motion. Did it create warmth or coolness? Warmth. The instrument for hand rubbing is hands. But we did a second thing. We examined that direct experience. Now, if you sit on your hands with your mind, you can't rub your hands together. With your mind, you can't put your pants on. Now, wearing pants and hand rubbing falls short because that's objective knowledge and has a beginning and an end. You are a constant, eternal experience. You are always I-ing. That, in the end, is the only real knowledge with a capital R. But in a mind made very quiet. So you get some space between your thoughts. With the attentive faculty turned inward, notice, okay, check out the direct experience of I. What's it like? Are you a little gray ball with wings? No, Jim, there's nothing there. Are you pink? No, there's nothing there. Are you good? No, there's nothing there. Are you bad? No, there's nothing there. Are you smart? No, there's nothing there. Are you stupid? No, there's nothing there. But there is something there, me. It is beyond the mind, beyond the senses, beyond speech. Yet it is. And in the subtle intellect, we have this aha, where it goes, oh, I get it. I'm not a person. I'm not the body. I'm not that miserable creature who thought he was such a loser or thought she was so special. There's nobody there. Yet that no thing shines as the light This is the pratyabhinyana, the recognition, the aha. So both bondage and liberation occur to the mind. The self is ever free. What is the instrument for knowing the self, for the direct experience of the self? It's the self itself. But you've always had it. Think, if it were something that could be gained, you could lose it. Oh, I realized the self yesterday, but today I don't have a self. No. You are an eternal, constant factor. What is my bondage? The deeply rooted conviction in the mind that I am bound. Meaning I think I'm my body. The cause of that is spiritual ignorance. What is liberation? Listen carefully. The self does not get liberated. The self is ever free. It's a shift that happens in my mind. There is no other liberation than the deeply rooted conviction based on direct experience. Not that I'm a realized person, not that I'm fabulous, not that I'm a guru now. There's nobody there. I am Brahman. I'm that ground of being. I'm the space of pure awareness. No personal sense of self is real. And that is transformative. We come to directly experience that. How is that done? In a mind made very still. When all the thoughting ends. The personal sense of self is gone. Then when the mind returns, it is conditioned by it. Oh, I get it. There's nobody there. I'm safe. Any thoughts on this? Do you have a question, Foz?
Yes, the analogy that you used for the homeless person that we talked to him, he's projecting his thought into his condition and he's saying he's miserable. That I get it. So that thought that he's reflecting on the condition of himself. If he was, what's the right term to use, more like a majority of the society, he would say, yeah, I'm a physician and my mother told me you're smart and I got to Harvard.
And that's still
Here I am.
ignorance. That's still ignorance. And he's still going to die. And he's
It's
still going to have
ignorance.
fear.
You say ignorance because
He doesn't know who he is. If he thinks he's a successful person, that's just as much ignorance.
so the analogy that's used in the book about the light. So when the light is on, we know that there's a table and there's a chair. And without the light, there's a table and chair.
but the light can never be shut off. The table can go away, but the light cannot. It's an analogy. It's not like a physical light, which has an off and on switch. The self has no off and on switch. You never cease to be. Don't believe me. Look.
You never cease to be. You
That's
never-
correct. You have no experience of your own non-existence.
Correct.
Yeah. Your body has changed, your feelings change, your thoughts change, your energy level changes, your environment changes, your belief systems change, but you are you. Now find out who that is. You're not a good person, you're not a bad person, you're not a person. You are the space of consciousness. Going back to earlier classes when we talked about my problem is spiritual ignorance. What is my problem? In the subtle intellect, in this buddhi, I attribute to myself the qualities of the not self. I think I'm the body or the body's story.
Or the stories or reflection of yourself that you see in other people.
Yes, all of that is illusion.
I still don't know where to find myself. That's the thing.
Are you meditating?
On and off? Yes.
I suspect a little more off than on.
Yeah.
And what you've got to do is practice. And keep reviewing what Swamiji's commentary is in the scripture. For some people, this comes very quickly. Others of us, we've got to do a little more work. And what holds the egoism in place is always attachment. But if this is hard to understand for now, just put it on the shelf. And let's move on to the next verse. All right.
Nishidhya nikhilopadhi neti neti vakyatah vidya daikyam mahavakyai jivatma paramatmano. By the process of negation of the conditionings, upadhis, as per the scriptural statement, it is not this, it is not this. The oneness of the individual soul and the supreme soul, as indicated by the great Mahavakyas, has to be realized.
So there are 4 Mahavakyas. That means a great utterance. One taken from each one of the 4 Vedas. They occur in the Upanishads. There's actually more, but we have 4 that we usually acknowledge. The first one is Prajnanam Brahma. Brahman, ultimate reality, is consciousness. Second one, I am Atma, Brahma. This self is Brahma. The third one, this is called the Upadesha Mahavakya. Upadesha means teaching. Tat Tvamasi. You are that. And all of the various schools of yoga and their practices are implied in Tatvamasi. And then the last one at the moment of realization, yogi doesn't say, oh, I'm a realized person now. I'm enlightened. No. Aham Brahmasmi. Oh, I am Brahma. Now, the Mahavakya that he's referring to in this verse is that third one, Tatvamasi. You are that. It's also could be translated as you are God. And if we are ego identified, that's an absurd statement. I mean, I have a hard enough time just keeping my desk clean. You know, I was walking up and down stairs today and off to the city and stuff like that. My legs were hurting. That's not very omnipotent, am I? You know? How can I be God? I have a hard time remembering some names and stuff like that. I don't think you're old enough to experiencing that yet. How can I be God? I'm limited. I'm small. I have shortcomings. I have character defects. It's an absurd statement. Yet it's in the Vedas. So we have to use what's called lakshanam, which is the implied meaning of the scriptural statement. And the methodology is what we call neti neti. That's a contraction. It means na iti, na iti. Not this, not this. Now, we never say just neti. We never go neti, neti, neti. It's always neti, neti. Two. So what is the meaning of it? It is the way in which we negate the external understanding and go for the implied meaning. So I call it the cosmic striptease. One of the netties refers to the microcosm, meaning you, the individual. The other netty refers to the macrocosm. You have a physical body, a stula sharira, a gross body, the meat lump. We've talked about it. It's a food tube. In your 70, 80, 90 years, if you're lucky, you consume a mountain of food and produce a mountain of poop. You're a food tube munching your way through life. Munch, munch, poop. Munch, munch, poop. That's what the body does. And after your allotted time, your 70, 80, 90 years, you become food for fishes and worms. That's the destiny of the physical body. God has a physical body. It's not the blue boy of Krishna. It's not Shiva sitting there. It's not Kali with 4 arms. The body of God is the creation, the Jagat. The physical microcosm, macrocosm. You have a Sukshma Sharira. Wait, before I leave that, I think it's Jory had studied Mandukya Upanishad. Is that right, Jory?
Yes, Jim.
Yes. So what we're talking about here is Vaishwanara, the universal waking state, Vishwa. Now the subtle body, the Sukshma Sharira, you, excuse me, have a world of thoughts and feelings, an inner subtle world. Sukshma merely means subtle. Macrocosmically, there is a macrocosmic subtle body. We call it the total mind. Taijasa in Mandukya. It's also called Hiranyagarbha. Hiranyagarbha literally means golden egg. Out of it comes all the thoughts and feelings. So if you've ever been to a psychic and they're reading the Akashic record and they're seeing your future or what's going to happen in the world in 100 years, what they're tuning into is this total mind. Any of you familiar with Carl Jung's Red Book? You might. Have you come in contact with this?
I have not.
But you know about it?
The Red Book.
So this was something he compiled prior to the Second World War. And it has drawings and writings and things like that. And he was tuning in to the total mind. And we could say channeling, but he was aware of all the impending violence and suffering. It's a fascinating thing. I went to a bunch of lectures on it several years ago that were just really cool. But anyway, what was the name of the sleeping prophet? Edgar Cayce. Any of you read about him?
Yeah.
So what would he do? He'd go into a sleeping trance. People would ask him questions and he would just pull this information. Where was he getting it? From the total mind. By the way, the term Akashic record, it's borrowed from Sanskrit. Akasha means space. So it's what's deposited in the total mind. Microcosm. You have a karana sharira, a causal body. So on previous talks, we've talked about vasanas, those deep impressions in the unconscious, which cause me to think, feel, and act. The infinite has a causal body. Mandukya, we call it Prajna. The causal body of the infinite is called Ishvara. When you see the term Ishvara in scripture, it's usually translated as the Lord, which is a very good translation. What does a Lord do? The Lord rules. Ishvara is kind of like a generic name for God in Sanskrit. The root is ichity, which means to wish, to will, to intend. So we have terms like subej, an auspicious wish. He who wishes, he who wills, he who intends is Ishvara. So the scriptures say there is a God, call it by any name you want, who is in charge of this phenomenal world. It is that from which the Big Bang came, with all the laws. And Swamiji used to say, if you just understand, begin to appreciate nature, you find it is a cosmos, not a chaos. I got up this morning and light moved at 186,000 miles per second. It was the same speed yesterday, and it's going to be the same speed tomorrow. Gravity is still gravity. E equals mc squared. It is eternal. There are laws of this universe. It is organized. It is intelligent. It is synchronous. Everything is connected. It's not a random, chaotic universe. And it is Ishvara, the total vasana, that intends this universe. There's a slogan that I will frequently share with people. It is a beneficent universe that conspires for our well-being if we let it. That's why the most powerful of all prayers is the prayer of surrender. I turn my will and my life over to the care. Fall into the infinite. Because Ishvara is in charge. And God's not neurotic. Now, negating the stula sharira, the gross body, negating the jagat, the gross manifest universe, not ithi, not this, not this. Negating the sukshma sharira, the subtle body, my own thoughts and feelings. Negating the total mind, all the thoughts and feelings. Not ithi, not this. It's not this. Negating even the causal my vasana bandha, the karana sharira, and negating even Ishvara, the personal God in charge of the universe. Not this, not this. So at the core of my being, when I negate all that's negatable, I am witnessing consciousness. Without a form, without color, without shape, no edge, no boundary. Vast and empty like the sky, yet full of being. Baba. And that ground of being, which is the substratum of the entire creation, grows and stubble, we call Brahman. It's a neuter noun. Comes from the root brr, which means really, really, really big. That witnessing consciousness in you and that ground of being of the whole creation, they are the same thing. Come, plum, see. You are. So this is the deep meaning of that Mahavakya, and we come to understand it through this injunction, na iti, neti, neti, not this. Any thoughts about this?
Yeah, I have a little problem. I understand all of that. I have a little kind of a sense of dualism with Ishvara.
Mhm.
And Vedanta is non-dual. So
That's
I'm
correct.
A little, it's a problem in that I am not this creator, intelligent.
Well, you are and you're not. If
Yeah,
you
that's
think of
it.
yourself
Yes, that's
as the self,
Right.
you are the creator.
Yes, I know. That's where I hit a
But
wall.
you, as an ego, are not creating the whole
Well,
world.
clearly.
Yeah, thank God.
Thank God.
Say that again. As an ego.
You, as an ego, are not creating all this. That's called solipsism.
Right.
Vedanta is not solipsism.
Right.
What do you mean as an ego?
Ego.
You.
Your individuality is not creating all this. You cannot stand there on Ocean Beach and say, "Sun, do not set." You can't do that. But the real you, the deepest part of you, out of that, because the deepest part of you and the ground of being of everything is the same. So I'm not quite sure I understand what your doubt is, Pamela.
Well, I comprehend that. I comprehend, which is already of the mind, that somehow I am the same as the source,
Yes.
all being. But I somehow feel separate, as you just said, from the overarching commanding force of the universe.
You
So I'm
but
a little
in a sense you participate in it.
I participate in by living and being a conscious
Exactly. So
observer.
at the realm of gross bodies,
Uh-huh.
your physical body partakes of the nature of the Jagat. You're made of molecules and atoms
Right,
and stuff
right.
like that.
Yes.
At the level of the mind, you participate in the total minds.
Okay.
God doesn't,
So I'm like an atom in this design.
but that's only at the level of manifestation.
Okay.
And the same thing with your vasanas. In a sense, if you take any level of your personal manifestation and you really examine it, it all dissolves into oneness.
Okay. Again.
But what Vedanta says is there is an intelligence that's running the creation. It's not a random
I
crapshoot.
totally get that.
Yeah.
Totally get that. Yeah, okay, that somehow makes sense.
And at the level of our egos, when I fall into Ishvara, life becomes so much easier.
I feel that.
Yeah.
I totally get that. 100%.
Okay. Did that
Yes,
resolve your
that
doubt?
helps. That helps. Thank you.
Okay.
Life becomes easier because you accept the situation that you're in as a creator. Because
No. What it means is it's all going to be okay. Of course, we make choices fast. And this is not saying just sit in your armchair and let the world go by. We're not saying that. But let's say you bid on a job to build a house. You put in a whole lot of work. You submit the bid. You're either going to get it or you're not. Some other architect may give some bid that's cheaper and better quality than you. Okay, it's not the end of the world. It's all perfect. There'll be something else. But if I think, oh, I'm a terrible architect because I didn't get this job, not only that, 10 years from now, I won't have enough money. Or, oh, I can remember 5 years ago when I really wanted this job and I didn't get it. Bad me. All that kind of thinking goes away. All that kind of thinking goes away. Because it's all rooted in I'm a separate individual. The universe is chaotic and it's hostile. And I gotta fight like hell to get mine. That's a really, really exhausting way to live. Does that make it a little clearer?
absolutely.
Did we do 3 verses so far?
Correct.
Okay, one more.
avidyakam shariradi drishyam buddhavaksharam etad vilakshanam vidya aham brahmeti nirmalam. The body and so on, up to the causal body, ignorance, are objects perceived, and thus they are as perishable as bubbles. Realize through discrimination that I am ever the pure Brahman, entirely different from all these.
Yeah. So I love the word bud in Sanskrit. It's exactly the same as bumbles. This is what's called a reduplicated root. The word bumble is bubba doubled. It's the same in Sanskrit. So bubbles are so transitory. They exist and then they're gone. In the larger scheme of things, this body, houses, relationships, family, relatives, our mental acuity, our physical dexterity, all of it. So fleeting. I think I told you all before class, I went to the symphony today. My dear friend Sheila. Sheila's 86 and she's still working. She's a musician. Her job right now is she's got, I think, 1 or 2 private piano students, but her main job right now is she's still the accompanist, the organist at St. Anne's Catholic Church out in Rossmore. So she's still doing 3 masses a weekend, funerals. People out there don't get married that often. but they sure do die a lot. She had like 8 funerals this month already, or in May. You know,
There was a 103-year-old that got married. There was an article.
you just like to be contrary,
No,
don't you, Pamela?
I'm just enjoying the fact that that happens.
But anyway, the point is, we were talking today about the fact that, you know, so many of her relatives have gone. You know, she's a family of 5 siblings. I think there's only 2 left. Good friend of ours, Norm, who was a violinist, and he and Sheila used to do Beethoven, piano and violin sonatas. God, he died. His hearing went before he did, so he couldn't play in tune anymore. That was kind of sad. And then another dear friend of ours, my old piano tuner, just found out today his wife dropped dead. I have to call him tomorrow, find out what happened. And he's young. I think he may be 60. I think his wife's probably a little younger than he. But people die. You know, for example, when you get into your 50s, sometimes it happens earlier. Nobody tells you when you're in your 50s, this is the age group where your parents pass. Pretty common when you're in your 50s. And it isn't any easier for most people. Your mama's your mama. Whether it happens when you're 30 or it happens when you're 60. People die. Siblings die. Good friends die. You lose jobs. Houses burn down. And the big question is, well, then why bother? Is it all just vanity? Is Vedanta nihilistic? Absolutely not. We begin to see the fundamental vanity of investing any kind of security in the world, because it's in there. But what is the purpose of a human life? God consciousness, self-realization, the prayer of mystic union, enlightenment. It goes by many, many different names. I don't know if I've shared this saying with this group before. I have with many others. It's one of my favorite sayings of the great Christian saint, Saint Augustine. Thou hast made us for thyself, O Lord, and our heart is restless until it finds its rest in thee.
Yeah.
Pardon me?
Until it finds the rest.
Its rest in, I use the thee, thou that often, so to do it in modern English. You have made us for yourself, O God, and our heart is restless until it finds its rest in you. That's what it's all about. And it can take lifetimes for us to come to that. That's what it's all about. So, even though everything in this world of objects, emotions, and thoughts, the body, the mind, the intellect is all transient, impermanent, temporary. You are in another dimension. You are not transient. You are eternal. You are not impermanent. You are permanently you. And you are not born, and you do not die. Now, what we need to do is not just accept that as a nice statement of faith, but prove it. Keep introverting this attentive faculty. Investigate. Koham. Who am I? Something terrible happens. See if you can stop your mind. Look within, look behind your eyes. Notice the knower. Language fails us. Nope, still nobody there. Something wonderful happens. Do the same thing. Yep, nobody there. Always the same. And yet so much of my mental activity is spent trying to protect, to insulate, to defend, to secure a self that doesn't even really exist. And the real self that I am needs no defense, no protection. It's always safe. We have to come to the direct experience. All right, one more, and then we'll call it a night.
I think you said we have to come to direct experience of it.
Yes. We have to go from the theoretical into the direct experience. Next one.
Dehanyatvan me janma jara kasharya ladayah shabdadi vishaye sangho nirendriyat ayanacha. I am other than the body, and so I am free from the changes such as birth, wrinkling, senility, death, and so on. I have nothing to do with the sense objects such as sound and taste, for I am without the sense organs.
So the practice that's implied here is twofold. Viveka, Vairagya cha. Cha means and. Viveka, discrimination. The firm conviction in the intellect that Brahman, consciousness alone, is real. And the phenomenal world is mithya, illusion, unreal, impermanent, temporary, is known as discrimination between the real and the unreal. Discrimination between the self and the not self. Discrimination between the subject and all the objects. Second practice is called vairagya. Dispassion or detachment. That desire, meaning we don't do it overnight, to give up all attachment to enjoyments gained through the senses, Mind you, I did not say give up all sense objects. It's not about running away from the world. But if you want deep and abiding peace and the taste of the bliss of your own self nature, we give up our attachment to all experiences gained through the senses. And that desire to give up all ideas of self, starting from the body up to and including the form of Brahma, the creator, meaning I think I'm a powerful person. Yoga is not a process of self-improvement. It's a process of self-abandonment. Here we mean small self. So all the things about me that I think I'm identified with, I need, this is who I am, this is what I am. All of them have to go. So here Shankara is saying, give it up. Now, to attempt to give up the world, which is what this is about, out of some moral idea, being a goody-goody, is ineffectual and usually doomed to failure. Let me give you a real live example. Mike and I know about this. We have both been deeply involved with the Catholic Church. Do you know any gay priests who are attempting to be celibate, Mike?
Tempting?
Yes. And are they happy campers?
Most no.
Yeah. Because most are doing it out of an idea. How do we let go of the world? We let go of the world through insight. We think the process of suffering through. I am married. I see a beautiful man or woman out there. I think I'm going to go cheat on my spouse. At best, it's going to be 20 minutes. Then I'm either going to have to lie to my partner or they're going to find out and perhaps be brokenhearted. I don't think that's a very good idea. That's through insight, letting it go. Someone who's diabetic. Look at that fabulous cake from Sweet Inspirations. I think I'm going to eat the whole thing. Now, wait a minute. Think it through. Do you want to totally mess up your blood sugar and feel like crap for the next week? Someone who's got celiac disease, they're highly allergic to gluten. Oh, I really want pasta and donuts. Wait a minute. If you eat that stuff, you're going to have a bellyache. You think it through. So you and I need to understand what happens when I approach the world and get attached to people, places, things, and situations. It leaves a vasana, which covers my mind, which means down the road, there I am, stuck with the tyranny of craving. Think it through. This is called sublimation, which is different than suppression. We're able to give up our attachment to the world through a steady and continuous observation of the defects of an unconscious way of life. All right. Any quick questions?
The fact that this analogy, the man or the woman decides not to cheat, is because of the outcome of it not being good for 25 minutes. And that analogy, I understand. But you're saying that way of thinking of not doing it is not really giving up.
I didn't say that.
So I guess that's my understanding. That
My understanding, what I'm trying to say is, there are people who approach life from the viewpoint that getting happy is about satisfying as many desires as possible. That's the way the vast majority of the world thinks. I want more money, I want more sex, I want more power, I want more attention, I want fame. And what yoga is saying is, if you live life like that, you're going to be miserable because it's all ephemeral. Yoga says, if you instead do your duty in the world, go to work, do your job, be of service. If you've got a family, take care of your family. That's your duty. But where is the pearl of great price? It's self-realization. Spend your energy doing that. Because then you'll get something real, not something false. All right, need to quit. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Sri Guru Namaha. Hari Om.